Welcome to the Friends of FEADies podcast, brought to you by Feed Canada, our funding partner, ISED, and founding partner, the Saskatchewan Food Centre. This show is all about celebrating the incredible journeys of female entrepreneurs in the agri-food and food manufacturing sector. We're here to dish out the secrets of success and serve up a side of inspiration along the way. We are the Feed program where dreams are made, businesses are born, and the agri-food world is your oyster. Let's dine together.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Friends of FEADies podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Toth. Thank you for joining me today, and we have Tess Butler joining us. She has a business called Mama's Signature Spudnuts, and she has been in business for less than a year. But in that time, she has started with a product at local markets, taken some learning opportunities with Feed to learn about how to scale her product, and has actually gotten into a couple local retailers. She's also now in the process of working with the food center to learn more about scaling her product, shelf life testing, and a lot of really other important things in the food industry. So I'm very excited to bring Tess on and let everyone kind of hear from her as a newer business owner and her perspective of things. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So hi, Tess. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Can you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your business?
Yeah, my name is Tess Butler, and I am the sole proprietor of Mama's Signature Spudnuts. We sell a recipe that I made with my mom. Every year we make it for Christmas as a family tradition. And so I've turned that into a business after fun story. We decided I thought I should spend some more time with mom, and now that I have my own family, we just don't get as much time to spend together. So I said, "Hey mom, do you want to do my local community market with me, and we could just sell spud nuts? It'll be fun getting ready together ahead of time, and then we can spend the day together." Well, we did that, and we were run off our feet. We had to make her take breaks, even though we needed her to help. And we sold out hours before the market ended. So it was amazing. And I was like, wow, maybe there's something here. So that's kind of what spurred Mama's Spudnuts to start. Reflecting on that market experience, we did it early December. Reflecting on it December and early January, I just thought, let's give this a try. So I came up with Mama's Signature Spudnuts and decided to start selling them just on Facebook. And it just went so well. I decided, let's just take a risk on it. And I built a website, and I have to give a shout out to my husband. He helped me build it, and I knew what I wanted it to do, but I didn't know how to make it do it. So he helped me with that. And it's just like solving the next stopgap. Each time you get to something, I'm looking at the next thing I need to solve.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
And I've heard from other entrepreneurs too, that kind of starting at a market, starting at a farmer's market, whatever it may be, is the best way to kind of test your product, because you hear directly kind of from the people buying it and stuff. So was that kind of your experience? Lots of feedback that kind of made you feel confident in moving forward with this?
Yeah, I think that's what made me so excited, was just hearing how much people were excited about the product, their own stories, or their grandma used to make it, or they had it at a fair, or, just hearing how people connected to the item itself, and then the feedback of, someone's getting a spudnut to share with their kid, and I'm like, I think they'll be back. And sure enough, they come back for 6 because the kid would not share it with them anymore. It was so good. So, yeah, I just love that sense of community, selling them directly to consumers.
Oh, that's great. And we talked a little while ago, just in general, kind of about the journey you've been on. And so you started there, but you actually now have a packaged product that you're in a couple local retailers selling. You were telling me a little bit about the process of starting with that, like getting some food safety training and stuff. So can you just share with everyone a little bit about how you went from going to a farmer's market to actually having a product that you can sell in stores to people?
Yeah, actually, it was that was part of the plan originally, was to sell frozen so that people can take them home and enjoy them with their family. I love bringing that aspect of having a product that has minimal ingredients, low preservatives. It's like bringing grandma's baking home and being able to enjoy it warm with your family when you want it. That's the joy of the moment, that I wanted to help give people. And so I started packaging them in like frozen Ziplocs and did a little bit of research on how to do the product and get it packaged. That was just trial and error, honestly. In a sec, Lindsay. Through talking to other small business owners at the markets, and I reached out a lot after, names that I recognized, and just was like, hey, I'm new, I'm kind of thinking about this or that. Do you have any suggestions? Everybody was super welcoming, very open, and generally just wanted to help each other. So that's another like Easter egg of this experience, was that the small business community is so supportive. I was floored. So through that, someone mentioned to me that I should check out Feed, because I don't actually have a business background. I have a graphic design background. So I reached out and looked at Feed's website, and there was so much information for free. And I noticed that there was an upcoming course that you could take. So I signed up. It was a restaurant to retail course. And even though I'm not a restaurant, I did have like a food product. So I just thought, there's got to be something I can take away from this. So I signed up, and it kind of ended up happening at a time that I was super busy with a lot of other life things. But my husband pushed me, and he's like, you just need to do it. It'll be fine. You can do it. And so I finally attended some in-person classes, and they were amazing. The amount of information and the one-on-one personalized stuff. If you join in person, they kind of like, they'll like refer their information that they're teaching directly to the people that are there and the products that they're selling. So it makes it very approachable. You asked though about how I came up with a packaged product. And so
yeah, like I was just kind of more so curious. Like it was really interesting to hear. Yeah, you start literally, you're figuring it out. You start with Ziploc bags, and then that works for a little bit and stuff, and then you vacuum seal them now, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I do. My husband helped me do a little bit of research. That's like one of his strengths is researching items. Who the person who wants the TV does like all the research, right? So he's really good at that. So he found some different kind of options, and we ended up going with a vacuum sealed bag, and then I put a label on it, and that just helps it last longer in the freezer with less air in the package. I fry them and I freeze them plain, so that when you heat them up in the oven or the air fryer, they get nice and crispy. And then you can dunk them in the glaze, so it's gooey too. So imagine like a fluffy donut that's light and fluffy inside, it's crispy on the outside, and then the outside is still gooey from the glaze you dunked it in. That's like having it in grandma's kitchen, right? So that's I finally figured out the way to do it, to bring that experience directly into your home.
Yeah, caves. Yeah, that's a great description too. I love that. You sold me on Listening to that description, I'm like, yeah, that does sound like something I would absolutely love to have. Yeah, so we got into the feed program a little bit. I'm just gonna kind of take us back there a step. So yeah, with some of our programs, we do work with the Food Venture program to help put them on. So we're bringing in experts from across Canada. It's not just here in Saskatoon. We have entrepreneurs from across Canada, experts from across Canada. So a lot of times we're like sitting in there and learning with you guys.
Yeah. All the things. When I started the feed program, I started my business in January 2024, and I did the program in April. So I was super new. Everything was overwhelming. There was all the things, and I didn't even know all the things I needed to know. So the program was great in that it was 6 sessions, and each one had a topic, and so it just kind of like opened up really early on for me all of the things that I needed to consider. Maybe I'm hoping eliminating some of the surprises that could come up. I know it won't eliminate all of them.
Absolutely, and that's the thing is I think what kind of helps bring so much value is the fact that there is more barriers to entry in the food business than people really realize when you get into like everything. So, even as someone who's worked in graphic design, it's not until you get in there and you're starting to do your food labeling that you realize you've designed a lot of things before, but it's a whole new world doing food packaging because there's requirements on there that aren't on other packages that you do. So, it's like really, like a lot of really like direct, helpful information. And we also were able to refer you to the food center, which if people don't know, our feed program, we actually work directly out of the Saskatchewan Food Center. And so it's a great partnership because they can refer people to us, we can refer people to them. And I know you're very kind of early on in working with them. But can you kind of let us know a little bit about the things that the food center you're able to do with them, that you're looking into with them?
Yeah, for sure. I guess I just wanted to say too, to start, contacting them I was a little wary at first, just because I wasn't sure if I needed their services. So what was awesome was I did a lot of emailing back and forth, and then we did an in-person meeting to just kind of see the food center, because it's a totally new concept to me. I only knew the food industry as a consumer. So seeing it from the business side is very different. And just went over my product and what their services are and how they thought they could help me, and if what they could do was right, or if they could refer me somewhere else. So I definitely felt like they had my best interest and theirs in mind when we were talking. Being a new business, where you spend your money at first is really important, that it's effective, right? So we are looking at just refining the recipe a little bit. I didn't know that there were so many different kinds of flours, and that one could be more beneficial than the other for products. So looking at that, and then we're going to do some mini pilot test processing. So just looking at when I'm ready to scale up, how could I do that for the product that I'm creating, and what machinery would I need? So just kind of forecasting and figuring out what I would need to scale up when I get to that point. And then they're going to help me with a nutrition label development, which I think is super interesting. So we're going to get a label for the donut and a label for the glaze, as well as one together. So my product is packaged with the glaze separately. So if you wanted to do your Spudnut plain, which I have often eaten them plain, you could do that, and the information would reflect it. And then we're going to do some shelf life testing, which I find is super interesting. So they take the product, and over 3 months, Mine is frozen, so it'll be in the freezer, and they test it at various points to see if the product's breaking down, if there's any, when it starts to go bad, if it starts to go bad, so that I can figure out how much product I can make in advance safely, and that's still good for consumers. So I'm excited about all of those parts, really. I think it's going to be really helpful in giving me some direction on my forecasting of where I want to go on my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if you've never, like, to make a nutritional fact table, like, that's not just something that obviously people just like learn in school, or you just have the know-how how to do, right? So to be able to have that resource is amazing. And I'm going to plug the food center just a little bit more before we move on, just because I think a lot of people aren't aware it is actually a nonprofit as well. So the work that they're doing for you in terms of helping with recipe development, a lot of times in a private situation, not always, but a lot of times when a scientist is working on that in a private setting, they might actually have partial ownership on the recipe, like the product, what they develop for you. Whereas with the food center, that's not the case at all. It's completely your intellectual property. And so I think that's another thing that's really huge is like they're doing it, you know, as like a service for to help businesses grow here. It's not about making the most money possible. And so it's really a place that is helping, trying to grow as many local businesses as possible. And I shouldn't even say local, because they work with businesses throughout Canada and even internationally as well.
Yeah. And the nutrition label, I was looking at that initially as maybe one of my first steps, even before I came across Feed. Actually, I had heard about the food center and asked, and they said that they would do a nutrition label without any of the other work. So if anybody's interested in getting one done, you don't have to be doing a bunch of other work with them. They can help you with that.
Do just that. Yeah, no, that's great. Definitely great for people to know. So it's like it's great too to have like partners to help work through some of those pieces. So where you've kind of gotten to this point, you're now currently you're still doing markets, and you're also selling in a few stores. I have a feeling that a lot of newer people in business are going to be kind of curious about how did you take that step to go from your selling in markets to start like where, like, how do I get into my first store? Like how did you do that?
It also happened really organically. I didn't actually search it out. I was doing the markets and I was selling on Facebook. That was my primary spot for selling. And Hannah from the local high maintenance hippie in Warman reached out to me. She sells coffee out of her store, and then she also has a donut counter where she sells some baking and things. And so she reached out just to ask me if she could get my Spudnuts in every other Saturday to sell to her customers, the ready to eat ones. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. So we did that. And I said, you know, I also have a frozen product. Would you be interested in carrying that? And she goes, well, I have to check my freezer space and see if there's room. And, you know, shelf space is something that you'll often hear when you're doing the food industry. It's you have to kind of prove that it's a desirable product. And so I just said, you know, like we could just do something small, no pressure if you do or you don't. And she said, you know, like, let's do it. I don't have she didn't have any freezer space that was like the windows where you could just see the product. I ended up putting it in like a chest freezer, and I made some signage so that people were more aware, and tried to work with what she had. And it went really, really well. Everybody she was mentioning to that Spudnuts would be coming, was very excited. And so I think it really boosted her confidence in bringing it in even before it got there. I did a lot of Instagram posts and things to help hype it up for the store. The local store there is a consignment. So it's a consignment store. So what they do is they charge a small rent, or she charges a small rent, and then she takes a small percentage of the profits from my product. So instead of a grocery store will buy a bulk amount of your product and they give you the money, they just buy it outright. Whereas this store, you still have a little bit more of the risk, but they're carrying it to sell to people and open, all throughout the day for customers to come and get your product. So it's a store full of other small local businesses products. And so the consumers that are going there are people that are going to try and support local and already buy something that's similar to what I have to offer, though they may not know my product. So it worked out really well. Hannah told me about the Little Market Box, which is the second location I sell out of. It's in Saskatoon, 332 20th Street West in Saskatoon. And their model is similar, although I don't pay rent. They charge me a higher percentage on my product, and I just continually stock it. So that works out really well too, because then I'm managing my own stock, and I get an idea of what customers are buying and how well it's doing. And I also support that store with advertising to my customers, and they'll often repost them. So it's not totally hands off there. There's been a lot of trying to still market it. But it's going well, and it's nice to have, when somebody calls me, I'm a home-based business, to have a spot that someone could, like, hey, I don't have any product right now, but these two stores do, or I'm at the lake with my family. You can pick them up from these two stores. And it's helping me get that proof of sales, for when I do take that step up to maybe the local section in Sobeys or a Pitchfork or something like that.
Absolutely. Because that's definitely something that they're going to be looking for, is proof that this is already selling and that people want to buy it. That's definitely the easiest way to convince someone to take your product on, is showing, look how much it's already selling. I just want to commend you, because I think it's one of the things that I find so interesting and I love about working with local business owners and small businesses, is just kind of the innovation and like the creativity. So just you mentioning the fact that, you're not in the front glass right off the bat, and you're probably not going to be for a lot of people who are just getting started. But you're like, all right, I'm going to make some signage. I'm going to do what I can to make people aware of where, even though I am in the chest freezer in the back, making it, working with your social media, with your signage, all these things to make it as easy as possible for customers. And I think those little extra kind of pieces to help push things really make a difference in terms of getting people to know what's even there and therefore give it a try.
Yeah, thanks. One other tip I would give other small business owners is, I offered to do sample days at these stores. So that's my time at the store selling the product and engaging with their customers. And I found that they were very receptive to having me for a sample day, even so far as saying, I think these days would be better because there's events going on and I have higher traffic. And those days I definitely sold out of everything I had in the store. So it helps them see how popular it is when people sample it, as well as getting the word out. So I highly recommend reaching out to maybe do a sample day. It's a little bit of time investment, but you also get to interact with the customer at that point outside of a market and see, what they're looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, as you kind of continue on this journey, it's the same thing when you go into retailers too. A lot of retailers want to have people coming in for demos and samples and stuff. So it's a good skill to definitely develop earlier than later. And I think, again, it's we work in food. So the easiest way to convince people that this food is good is to them try it. And that's clearly been very successful for you. 'Cause it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like once someone kind of gets a taste of what you've got, it sounds like it's a pretty easy sale after that.
It usually is, yeah.
Which is great. We're going to pivot here a little bit. It's all related, obviously, to what we're talking about. But I was just curious about being a home-based business. I know that, you can't just go and just start making things the way you would normally just cooking in your own kitchen, say. There's safety standards and things you have to meet. Can you tell me a little bit about, like, either looking into that or, like, what that process was like for you?
Exactly. When I decided to do it as a business, I was like, can I keep doing what I'm doing? Do I need to change anything? So I did a lot of research. The Sask Health website has a lot of information as to, is your product low risk or high risk? And you're only allowed to be a home-based business with food if it's low risk. If it's anything that they deem other than that, you have to go to a commercial kitchen or like rent a kitchen like you can in like some churches or like a ghost kitchen. So I did all the research. I chatted with them. It's definitely low risk. And so then I looked into what else I could do to make sure that I'm being as safe as I can and giving my consumers, just like a family member, something that I am proud of and is safe and good to go. So I looked on the Government of Canada's website. They have a list of acceptable people to get food safety training from. I did this really early on, actually. I would say very early on, like within the first month of starting, I decided to get myself and my husband food safety certified so that we were just aware of all of the things in the kitchen that we needed to make sure that we were keeping contaminants out, like keeping the kids and the dog out of the kitchen. Luckily, she doesn't shed and she's short, so no counter problems. And the kind of sanitizing that we need to do and all of that. So we got that squared away, and it definitely gave me more confidence in the product that we were making. So now we generally start Spudnuts just before the kids go to bed. We get the dough rising and then put them to bed, clean the kitchen, and get to making Spudnuts currently.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's so great. And I assume that probably you would say the earlier the better in terms like you did that right away.
Yes.
So you're not making something that could potentially make someone sick because you're just not aware of some of the steps you need to take or anything.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. And so
Exactly,
it's, I think more information, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's great to hear. It sounds like you've learned a lot in less than a year, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Moving forward, you have, I assume, some plans for kind of the rest of the year, getting into some more markets and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I just finished actually taking the summer off because the kids are small. We wanted to do a lot of lake time, so I just kept the 2 stores stocked. But now we're going to be ramping up and participating in some fall and Christmas markets around Saskatoon and Warman. And I signed a contract to do some work with the food center, so that's taking place August to February. And so I'm kind of holding on until we get a little bit further into that process to see where I want to go. Strategically, I would like to develop the product a little bit more that will go on shelves. Planning to put the glaze in the product with the donuts so that it's more of a kit. And just developing the packaging is really my next step. Working on packaging and scaling up the amount of Spudnuts that we can make for events. And then I think we're also going to look into doing some large orders. So say you have like a wedding or a birthday party or something like that. I'd like to look into doing some of those events because I think Spudnuts would be a great addition to any party or gathering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So in that case, would it be like bulk selling, or you're looking to actually go and kind of make them there at the actual event?
I think it would depend on what the customer wanted. But you did touch on something. So yes, I'm also working on bulk selling to potentially someone that wants to make them and sell them themselves, just like a consumer would make it at home to eat. That's one avenue we're looking at, although I'm not sure when it's going to come to fruition. And then the second one could be us coming to a wedding and making them, or them just buying, 200 donuts packaged to give their guests.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Lots of options, I guess, kind of based on see what the demand looks like from people and what makes sense for you and your business and stuff.
Yeah, I need to get a little more customer feedback in that area, but I think it would be a good way to venture.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see, it's one product, but there's different ways of introducing it to people, different ways to selling it to people. Yeah. And so that's nice because it opens up multiple kind of different avenues for you to go down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was just curious, is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you would like to highlight or talk about at all?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know about my website, mamaspudnuts.ca. You can sign up for our newsletter as well as follow us on Instagram and Facebook to see what markets we're going to be popping up at, any new stores. We are working on, I've just spoke with Skip a Beat about getting our products on their website for they are a convenience ordering meals, and so I feel like our Spudnuts are a perfect product to shoe in there to be delivered right to your home. So that's our next little venture is we're gonna do a test drive with Skip a Beat's delivery service.
I just gotta stop for a second and just kind of plug. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Danny is also a Feed member.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually her podcast episode is coming out this month. So her and I have sat down and recorded and stuff. I just have to finish final edit and get it out there to everyone. But yeah, so when people listen to this, they'll probably or hopefully have maybe listened to Danny's episode already and be very familiar with Skip a Beat and everything that they do. So that's kind of a very cool tie-in.
Yeah, for sure. Meeting Danny, it's she just embodies everything that I've already experienced with the small business community. Everyone's looking to see how their business can help each other, and they just I'm a firm believer in helping each other up gets everybody up the ladder faster. So she's just so warm and welcoming, and I think our products work really well together. So I'm excited for that. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's exciting for us too to see that like two people who we've worked through and worked with and stuff, seeing A, progress that's being made, and B, like those collaborations and stuff. Because yeah, it's like the learning is great, but also being in a course with someone who's in a similar spot to you, or maybe even a little bit further ahead or further behind, you can learn so much from each other. So yeah, it's so great to see people coming at it from that perspective of the cup's full, there's enough for everyone, as opposed to kind of scarcity of like, if they succeed, I can't. And so it's it's so great to see that the environment, and that's how people are working together in like the small business food community.
Yeah, her and Carson's Q actually have opened a small Prairie Maid market. So when you go in there, I believe they have stuff like fresh eggs and like farm eggs and in a pinch pierogies and hopefully my Spudnuts as well. So I think it's a really cool little spot to stop in.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a great spot if you're looking for some more like local options and like just some really high quality, great food and products. Just a fun little thing for people to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Sure.
Okay, so what is your favorite color?
Oh, deal.
What's your favorite food?
Sushi.
What do you cook best?
Oh, I would say my family would say baking or spaghetti and meat sauce.
What is the last TV show that you binge watched?
Emily in Paris.
Nice. And what's your favorite hobby?
Oh, gosh. Going for walks with the dog and probably knitting. I am actually an avid knitter. So.
Oh, that's great.
What's your hobby, Lindsay?
Well, definitely probably the top one I would say is dodgeball. It ends up consuming a lot of my time, and a lot of my close friends are also play. So, yeah, that
fun.
would be probably that's fun. I was in Vancouver for nationals this summer, so travel.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, somewhat high level. A lot of fun.
Who do you play that with in the
so
city?
There's Saskatchewan Dodgeball. I'm actually on the board there, and they help like run kind of dodgeball events in Saskatchewan. And then there's a couple of leagues in Saskatoon. So thank you so much for joining us today, Tess. It was a great conversation, and it was so great to learn more about having a local business and just hearing about all the massive growth and stuff that you've taken on in such a short amount of time. I think it's going to be really inspiring for our listeners.
Thank you. It's been great being here.
Thank you to our listeners for indulging your entrepreneurial appetite with this episode of Friends of FEADies, brought to you by Feed Canada, our funding partner ISET, and founding partner, the Saskatchewan Food Centre. If anything we have discussed today has ignited an entrepreneurial fire within you, but you're not quite sure how to get started, or you're craving mentorship and coaching to help grow your business, please reach out to us at feed.ca. That's FEAD.ca. Connect with us on social media. We're sprinkled all over the digital landscape, and our team is ready to provide the mentorship and coaching you need to flourish. At Feed, we're here to empower women in the agri-food industry, so don't hesitate to reach out to us to join our vibrant community of foodpreneurs. Until next time, bake those dreams into reality, stay hungry for success, and continue to nourish your entrepreneurial spirit with Feed. Bon appetit.